FloodGate family, welcome to this month's edition of Leadership Live. And I am excited to announce that we've got Jeff Hopkins, who's a worldwide president of Acclarent, it's a Johnson & Johnson company, here with us to share his exceptional leadership experience, been in MedTech for 20 plus years and made impact in several different verticals. And I know he's got a ton to share, but before I steal your thunder, Jeff, thank you for being here first.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell us a little. I mean, I've been lucky enough to know you, but not everyone else has been as lucky as me. So tell me a little bit about you and maybe a little bit about Acclarent, if you could.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. And hello, everybody. I hope somebody's watching out there. We'll try to make this fun and entertaining for everybody. But I'm the worldwide president of Acclarent. Acclarent is the ENT medical device company that was a startup out of California and now is owned by J&J. And our whole mission is to increase the outcomes associated with ENT care and proliferate technology across ENT. But what about me? I'm the guy that went to Florida State University and jumped into medical device right out of school. I started in sales. I started with a startup company and built a startup company with a great group of alumni. And we were able to have a nice solid exit, did an IPO, and then sold the business. And after that, I was in a place where I could take some time off. I traveled the world by myself with a backpack for 6 months and said, hey, what could I do? What do I want to do with the rest of my life? And on that sabbatical, I had a moment of clarity. And my moment of clarity was I loved being in the medical device space. I loved being in the business of healthcare, which to me provided a good income and for my family, but more importantly, it provided a ton of intrinsic value about helping patients and helping others and doing good. And so I decided to keep my career going in MedTech and join one of the largest healthcare companies in the world. And that's what I did. I went back, went to J&J, went back into sales and worked my way up through several different businesses and now running Acclarent.
That's awesome. I love that story where you get a chance to hit that reset button, take a reflective look, and know that leadership and med device and med tech is what you love. That's pretty cool, you know? And this is a pretty cool, amazing space. So, but I know a lot of people, it's a unique space. So what do you think are the key attributes to be a good leader in this med device space? What do you think it takes?
Yeah, in some ways, leadership in medical device it's like leadership in so many other areas of life. But basically, in general, you really need people who are passionate about what they're doing, so a lot of drive, but also people who are compassionate and have empathy. And I think what you've got to do is you have to be able to balance empathy with the patient, understanding of a physician. You have to be able to inspire trust in the physician to drive change, and you have to have a real vision for the future.
Yeah. No, I mean, have that passion, trust, vision, absolutely. I think those are some universal truths for sure. That make a difference in getting people to follow and not just manage, right?
That's right. And you've got to play the long game, and I always say if you're in medical device, you're probably driving change, and you need to do the change driving in the right way. You've got to educate, you have to be resilient and passionate. You've got to take them through the change cycle, and you've got to do it in the right ways to inspire that trust that they'll change their behavior pattern to adopt what you're selling. You really have to be all in yourself and believe in what you're doing, and that's where the passion is so important.
Yeah, makes sense. Guys, if for those listening, I know you're going to have questions, that I might not ask. All you have to do is comment, right now on the feed. I'll pull them up at the end. We're going to take 5 or 10 minutes, take some questions. So if there are questions you love about Jeff, please comment below. So now, Jeff, I know you've done, I'm sure you've never made a mistake. I know I never have. Kidding. But what a couple of those lessons that you might have learned, the hard way, if you will.
Yeah, I think we all make mistakes, and I think if you're in a position where you don't make a mistake, then you're doing something too easy. I think you've really got to stretch yourself and put you in a position where you can learn And in order to do that, you really have got to go into places that you're not comfortable. So I think for me, mistakes are the stepping stones for success. And by doing that, that's how you're going to grow and expand. I don't know, does that answer your question?
No, I think it's a great perspective. I mean, I think I've read one time Google pays people for the greatest failure, and they celebrate what was the greatest failure that year, right? Because they want people motivated to take those chances, because if you're playing it safe, you typically don't shank the 4-iron that's down the fairway. It's the one wood that you swing out of your shoes on that goes into the woods, right? So
that's right. And look, there are a lot of opportunities to work at different companies in MedTech. And I think it's always easier to find the company that's hot right now and the job that's hot and maybe a startup or maybe a very established division of a strategic. And it's easier to jump on board and paddle downstream, right? And ride what others have created, but it's not very fulfilling. I tell everybody, don't play it safe. Try to tackle the hard things. It'll be so much more rewarding, and you'll learn so much and grow so much. And I got to tell you, you'll be better for it in the long term.
No, that makes sense. You mentioned about developing. So really, you've always got some high performers in your team. I know you and I both had that. How do you develop those high performers? What recommendations would you give leaders?
Yeah, on high performers, I stretch it. And what I mean by that is when you see someone performing well, you got to give them a little slack in the reins and then give them a little kick or a little fuel, right? And give them opportunity to excel. If a high performer asks me for something, I generally try to figure out a way to say yes and support what they're doing. But yet then I hold them accountable for that request and make them do what they said they're going to do and deliver on it. So what do I do? How do I develop them? I give them more responsibility. I give them more trust. I invest with them so that they can test out their ideas and develop new skills. And once they demonstrate success over time, I continue to give them more incremental responsibility. And what I'm trying to flush out, Joe, is are they really just a strong stallion, an individual contributor? And is that going to be their path, or are they going to shift over to really a people leader mindset? And we have to flush that out early. I also want to say this. People always ask me that question, but no one ever says what a high performer is. In my opinion, right? Yeah. So I don't want to invest. Anybody can have a moment. Anybody can have a great year. That's not really what I'm interested in developing. If you have a great year, you get on my radar. The most important year is year 2. It's always very hard to have a back-to-back President's Club winner, for instance, in MedTech, because they blow it out one year, don't follow through the second, they don't convert that carryover. So for me, a high performer is not someone who's had one cycle of success. It's someone who's had a good run. I want to see 2-3 years of success before I call someone a high performer.
Yeah, it's consistency. To be able to be consistent.
A lot of people can do it once. A lot of people can do it once. Or I do it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I had a former leader who always looked at trend lines, right? Because you could, some people have that, but over time, those high performers always have that up and to the right, so you can kind of see.
It's look, everything's going to be hard, and medical device sales, MedTech sales is not easy. I need people and leaders who can be resilient and figure it out, and have the wherewithal to do it more than once, regardless of the situation, regardless of the market. They get it done consistently, and that's high performance.
Yeah, I like it. That's a great definition. Now, finding those people that are going to be those high performance, and evaluating that talent. Obviously, this is near and dear to my heart, but curious what you found effective about finding the right people and then also evaluating.
Yeah, obviously finding the right people is the most important thing any of us can do as we build companies, and it can be challenging. And I think what we have to do is, as a company, as a leader, you've got to define your set of values. And at Acclarent, we have a defined set of values. Some people call in reference to Credo, but it's really a guide to decision making on how we're going to run our business. And for me, what our values are aligned to is taking care of the patient first, and then the physicians, and then everything else will follow. So first and foremost, when I look to evaluate new talent, I'm trying to find individuals whose values align with this approach. And for me, it's not just being super competitive or a high performer, but it's the person that has that with the right ethical values that will want to win, but not at all cost. Winning the right way. So high performing, high ethics, high values, and that's how you build trust in long-term successful MedTech people.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I've heard you can teach a lot, but values are one of those things that you can't train for, and so it's core to start with that. And I also read on recruiting that leading with values, people would accept 20%, a recent study, a 20% reduction in compensation for a company to work for a company that aligned with their values. And that was from, our Gen X survey. So it also allows you to attract better people too.
The other thing, Joe, when I first started in MedTech, I mentioned that I worked for a small company coming right out of business school. And it was a really neat place. They took unexperienced people that had these good values, that were competitive, that were previous leaders in extracurricular activities. But we also really, and it was a good baseline, good foundation for MedTech. We also really focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we did this before it was trendy. We did it because it's the right thing to do. We tried to find people with different backgrounds, different experiences, different everything, and brought them to the table because we realized if we brought forward different perspectives and different points of view, we could do a better job serving our diverse set of customers and their diverse scenario. Yeah. So that's something that we continue to do, is really look at different ways to find people earlier in their careers that have different backgrounds, more diverse, that can help us all do better, because we don't want everybody, looking the same, doing the same, feeling the same.
Yeah, you're all going to have the same perspective to the problem, and you're not going to get a variety of a solution, right? So it makes sense. Totally agree. Now, I know there's people listening here, will be watching this after the fact that are, might not be leaders yet, right? But they're aspiring leaders. What do you think they should do, to be noticed, to be tapped? I mean, you mentioned a little bit, having a couple consistency, but outside of being consistent, consistent performance, what else might they be able to do?
It's a great question. And you know what? I don't think you need the word leader in your title to be a leader. I think what leadership truly is demonstrating acumen in the field, helping others be successful, and ensuring that you've got more than just an individual mindset. And so what I look for is, like I said, people that are passionate in their work, people that get good results, but people that bring new ideas, people that are open to new challenges, and look for opportunities to solve those challenges, and then share those successes with others. I think that's the big differentiator for me, is when you start exporting your skills and exporting your successes and helping others. That's what a leader does, right? And a lot of times, that's not about being the loudest person in the room. It's not about being an extrovert. It's about helping others be successful, seeing others and inspiring others, empowering people with what you've learned and making them successful. Yeah. So I think that's what a leader does.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, they see problems and they don't sit back. They take that initiative, they create ideas, and then they bring others along with them, right? Help solve a common problem.
Exactly. And you so many MedTech people today are kind of heard the stories of the past, and they have this sense of what it should be like. It's not easy here in this space, regardless of the company you're at. It's intense, right? And I think, you've got to buckle down. You've got to be inspirational, solve problems. There's no good in complaining, right? No one else is going to fix your problems for you. Get your head down, figure it out, help others be successful. And look, people in my position, we're all looking for solutions. And I will tell you, as soon as I see someone doing something great, we will reach out to them and we will try to capture what they're doing and replicate it, democratize it. And so leadership comes from being successful, from working hard, from being resilient. I do want to leave this comment with everybody, and I always say, regardless of who you are, don't confuse efforts with results. Walk the talk. Don't just talk about it, do it. And I have a lot of people in my organizations and in the past that have had a lot of things to say, and a lot of suggestions, but don't get down to into the nitty gritty and get things done. And that's the true separator. So have ideas, share those ideas, but get it done. And we have a lot of people that I always say that are working hard out there, and I don't know if they know what they're trying to accomplish or not. It's not about that. It's about getting the results done. And you are accountable for your own results, no one else.
Yeah, no, I love you added that. That makes a big difference. Just, that action, it's about your impact, not always just your ideas that make a difference, and how you bring to fruition. Guys, I'll make another comment. If you can make some, if you got any questions for Jeff, we'll be taking those here in just a moment. So sure. Please just post the comments below. We'll pull them up. And we'll kind of, in anything you're curious from his experience, his leadership, and background. So, Jeff, we're going to leave you with one kind of fun one here. What's your favorite superhero and why?
Nice. Well, I don't have one specific superhero. What I have is a family of superheroes, and that's the Incredibles. You remember the Incredibles? All right. Yeah. Family with a mom, dad, and 2 kids. And what really is inspiring about the Incredibles to me is that they lean on each other's strengths. They know each other's weaknesses. They help each other out, and together they try to do good. And I'll say this, it's not about, in MedTech and about leadership, it's not about being a superstar individual superhero. It's about being a superhero yourself and teaming with other superheroes to drive success and make change. The Incredibles, I love them. That is what MedTech is about. If we can all work together at a superhero level, we can accomplish major and amazing things.
I love that. That collaboration, working each other's weakness, and strengths, and really be able to make massive impact and massive change. I totally forgot about the Incredibles. It's been a long time since I've seen that particular movie, but I loved it.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you.
We got a couple more questions, so don't run off. Don't run off. We got questions for people here. All right, so let's see. Okay, so this question knows you here. What are the things you're looking for folks, your high-performing sales folks are looking to make a transition leader? I think you mentioned that a little bit, but any other additional suggestions that above and beyond kind of finding problems, creating the solutions and getting them done?
Yeah, and I'll give a word here to summarize that. I think it's about success, right? Problem solving, results, but with humility. Humility is going to be that. Humility and empathy are the 2 characteristics that you're going to have to demonstrate when you shift from an individual contributor to a people leader. So it's about not only about yourself, it's about helping others and about helping the organization. And that's really one thing that we key in on.
Awesome. This is from Ashley Conley, just, talking a little bit about the characteristics and intangibles, for employees at Acclarent. I mean, what's important? What do you guys look for? What are those? You mentioned having that diverse group, but, outside of that, what kind of characteristics and intangibles are important for you guys?
Yeah, I think she's asking about the values here, and I think that's important. What are values? And I threw a couple of them out there earlier. The first one is hard work, right? You've got to be a hard worker, a self-starter. We all hear that, but you got to get up and get out and get it done. I look on my conference calls at who's making them from the hospital, from the car when it's parked safely, or from their house, and it tells a lot. So you got to get out there. That's number one. Number 2, you've got to be open to learn, and you've got to develop yourself. And every day is a learning opportunity. So you've got to be a risk taker. You've got to have that humility. You've got to have that empathy. But most importantly, it's that resilience. You've got to keep going. And if you treat people well, if you're honest and do what you say, even if you fail and mess up, you can go back the next day and try again. And that's the values that we need in our people.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That hard work, ability to take chances, that Andrew Duckworth called that grit, right? That keep going kind of mentality.
That's right.
Work, so, and Jacqueline's got one last question here. This is kind of, you had the Incredibles' favorite superhero, but a real life leader, right? So, what did you learn from that?
This is a tough one, Jacqueline. So thank you. Who's my favorite leader, and what did you learn from them? Well, I'll tie this back to my first job out of college, and I mentioned I worked for a small medical device company, and I stole a couple of their leadership principles when I was early. The gentleman that I'll compliment is Bill Peterson, and Bill Peterson was a great man who started this medical device company. And he's the one that sat me down at a very young age and gave me very clear, truthful feedback. And he said, Hopkins, he said, you've got a lot of ideas. It's time for you to put them to work and get it done. So between him and his partner, they're the ones that gave me the advice that don't confuse efforts with results. And because they took that time to give me that feedback early in my career, I have a tremendous amount of respect for them, for Bill Peterson, and for them, because I listened and I did what they said, and it's been just fulfilling, and I've reaped the rewards of that advice for my entire career.
That's awesome. It's one of the great things and rewards of leadership. I don't know if Bill even probably remembers saying that to you, but look at the way that has impacted your career, from a young age, and the directions and decisions you've made. So, as a leader, you can, make those meaningful change in people's lives.
That's right. I think you've got to take some risk, and you've got to invest in your people, and you've got to take some risk and have some tough conversations with them. And the people that take feedback and debrief and put it to work and learn are the people that are going to be the most successful in life.
Awesome. Hey, with that, I think we'll leave it. I think see if there's any other comments that's kind of popped up here. Oh, we got one more. I got one more here from looks like Dr. I'm just gonna call it down. I don't want to botch the last name there. But along the lines of taking risks, if a project you're passionate about is not going to plan, what are the actions?
You bet. You know what? And I will tell you this: very few things go according to the plan. And so I think you've got to build a plan. You got to start way up high. And this is with innovation, especially, right? As we innovate, we have to set the bar and the standard super high. And generally, over time, as a project goes, we know that from a deliverable perspective, we always are going to somewhat fall short of the grand aspiration. So I think if you're gonna take a project on, if you're going to try to innovate, for instance, you've got to set the bar higher than you think is necessary. And that way, if you land a little bit lower, you're still providing true innovation. And I think you've got to account for the fact that something's going to go wrong. You're going to miss a supply. You're going to hit a supply challenge. You're going to have to change specs. You'll have to do things to adapt. But if you're reaching for the stars, you're still going to be able to be successful, and you're still going to drive real value from an innovation perspective.
That's awesome. Yeah, just kind of know that might be the case. That's a great example. Well, guys, I really truly appreciate, Jeff, you taking the time, sharing your years of leadership. I know I got a couple arrows to put in my quiver. Hopefully, the FloodGate family found some as well. So I appreciate it. And guys, if you have any additional questions, just, if you're watching this later, just put a comment below. I know Jeff and I are watching this. We'll comment back, and, anything we can do to help you increase your leadership, that's what we're here for. So thank you again. Thank you, Jeff. Have a great day.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everybody.